and welcome everyone to another episode on Awaz-e-Haqiqat, which also translates to the voice of truth. I'm your host, Chris Malika, and depending on whichever part of the world you're listening to me from, I will be talking about neurodivergence. I will be talking about female authors. I'll be talking about many other things because the guest I have with me tonight is someone I've been meaning to talk to for a very, very long time. I've been following her work on Facebook and I just get inspired from her all the time. So I'm super excited to welcome Nandita Chakraborty with me. Nandita is a best-selling Indian-Australian author. She is a disability advocate, keynote speaker, and a multi-award winner. She was born in Kolkata in a small conservative family, which has always been associated with the arts. Her father won many accolades in Indian cinema. His film In Search of Famine was the first Indian film in a regional language to win the Silver Bear at the Berlin Film Festival in 1980. Along with her siblings, she was sent out to boarding school at the age of 7 in the hills of Meghalaya. A few years down the track, the family settled in New Delhi, where she attended Sri Venketeswara University in New Delhi to study political sciences by day, and at night she would attend her fashion and visual merchandising school. In her third year, she went out to pursue a diploma in visual merchandising, leaving behind her career political sciences. Nandita began to work with a well-known designer in India, finding fame and fortune in her path, but it still didn't leave her creativity satisfied. And apart from that, she has won many awards. She is a best-selling author. So I'll leave much more to that to the later part of the discussion. On that note, a very good evening, Nandita. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I just want to say, it's been a long time coming since we first wrote to me to interview. So the day has come, and thank you for having me. I just want to acknowledge the land as well where we are.
Sure.
So I'm from the Bula Bula I'm from the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation,
Yeah.
and I pay my respect past, present, and emerging artists.
Thank you, Nandita. And let me also mention it at the upfront. It's always a pleasure for me to have such people like yourselves on the platform. So, all right, without much delay, Nandita, first and foremost, you mentioned that you are a disability advocate. Thank you for doing that. Not a lot of us do that. But how would you like to explain neurodivergence to our listeners?
Yeah, look, the word neurodivergent is that we think differently, and we may be the same, but we slightly think very differently from what you think. It's not black and white for us. It's everywhere. It's full of colors and full of 10 million things at one time. And we have to pick our basis from those 10 million things. But sometimes it's difficult because those are the 10 million things that collide together and make us so unique and informative in our own way about how we think and how we do things. And I think that works for most creative people. And yeah, so maybe my mother might be thinking about what to make for dinner, but I might be thinking for dinner can wait. Let's talk something else. So this is what makes us so unique and more different. And yeah, so I think it's just a challenge when people don't understand us. And that's okay because that's really okay because we don't expect everyone to understand how we are and who we feel we are. So it is a challenge sometimes, but it's a good challenge because like this conversation, like the conversation that we're having tonight makes us open up, and discuss that we are same, but we're a little different. And I think, the whole world is like this. Yeah.
I must say the way you've described it, Nandita, I must say you're lucky that you can think about 10 million different things rather than us commoners who can only think in black and white. So lucky you. I envy you at that point of time. Single mothers, Nandita, we had the chat earlier and you say you're always inspired by what they do. Even I'm inspired because parenting is never easy, and especially when you're a single parent, it's even harder. In your experience, if you've seen people around you, how easy or how difficult is it to bring up a child all by yourself in a Western world?
Well, I wish I would be what do you call it? I'm not blessed to be a mother, but I'm blessed to be an auntie. So equally being an auntie is also equally being a mother, half mother. That's what they say, because that's what they call Masi, like Ma Jesi, or Mayer Moton in Bengali. But I think it's equally difficult because I see women, whether they're single or whether they are together, like whether they are not single, whether they are married and as a couple, it's difficult for bringing up a child. Like you give birth for um you wait for 9 months for the baby to come, and then after that there's a huge process. And especially with single mother, the process is a long journey because she's doing it all single-handedly, and there's no one. And though um, she's presumed as a goddess that yes, you're a mother, you can do anything, and because it's in your existence, you're born to do that. So it becomes quite a sexist remark as well, I think. And so hats off to them, those who are doing this. And I think no one can take that away. Like even from one moment that a mother, or what it calls, whether it's single mother or as a mother as a whole, that word is more broader term, to say anything. So there's no excuse of being a mother, and there's no excuse of not honoring a mother. So I think I learn every day from my own mother, from my own sister, and it's difficult, as we see, it's very easy. And looking from an eagle-eye view, it's not easy to bring up a child. No, not at all.
Yeah, I know. And I think the kind of struggles our mothers had to make in their time was exemplary, because not a lot of resources were available. They didn't have the narrative, the agency that we have now. So
Yeah.
and even our grandmothers, difficult times, very, very difficult times.
Yeah.
I'll kind of move back into our conversation a bit, Nandita. You mentioned in your bio that you are a disability advocate. Do you see enough support for disabled individuals or a little differently abled individuals in our community? Or do you really think that we have certain biases due to which these individuals are slightly cast aside? What have you observed around you?
So you're talking about the community as a South Asian community?
Yes.
And yes, there are a lot of biases, I would say. I'll give you one very good example because um, I have a non-visible disability. So it's invisible.
Right.
So a lot of people have question mark and looked at me like, what is invisible about you? And I then make a say that is the whole point. That is the whole point, because there are certain things. I'm also a stroke patient. So you can't see, like my left part doesn't work because I had a frontal lobe damage.
Right.
So my left is absolutely, and I used to walk with a walking stick. So many people didn't understand. So the day I walked, and I've written in a lot of articles as well, the day I started walking with a walking stick, people asked me that question, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Then I said to them, well, you've asked me this question now because I'm walking with a stick, but there are so many unsolved questions you could have asked.
Right.
So the answer I would get, it's all in your head. And I would say, well, it is in my head. So the whole brain injury is a part of me, who I am today.
Right.
So there are a lot of biases people don't understand. Like, for example, people with higher spectrum in autism, it's still there, though we are living in 2024. There are some people who still believe it's the fault of the mothers. It's always the mother to be blamed, that you have such kid. And if you have another child born with autism in a family, two children together, then of course it's the mother's problem. So they are not because we are so conditioned by superstition, so we don't see anything beyond that, And even growing up in India, because we didn't have any understanding of mental health, we didn't have any understanding of disability, we didn't have any understanding of autism.
Yeah.
So when you come to countries like Australia, or London, or you go to America, then you have this broader picture of what's all about. So I think if this is what I believe, that especially I want to champion about acquired brain injury, people who are not born um, with any what it calls neurodivergent or ability, or they're not born with anything. But people who acquired, it's very much, there has to be a place where people can talk. I want in the future, I want to see some, people going and talking about it, and making them understand what it is. And it is not a disease, you know, we are not, we are very lovely people. Yes, we think differently, but if you come and sit with us, you'll enjoy our company.
Absolutely.
Love to give you a good chat, you know. So I think, yeah, much needs to be done. Much, it's a long way. We are getting there. The conversation has started, but I think we have long way from home. That's what I think. Yeah.
Um, I have seen something similar because my right eye is a little bit smaller than my left, and it runs in my mother's side of the family.
Yeah.
The kind of questions, the looks that I've seen over my life is just something that, kind of sometimes bogs you down. Now
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
grown up
Yeah.
thick skin and I don't care. But initially in school, college, I used to be so put down that, oh my God, something is really wrong with me. But I tell my mom that, if only people can come sit with us, we are not that, it's just something I was born with. It's not my
Yeah. Yeah.
um, any imperfection is deemed as something is wrong with you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big challenging issue in our community, in our society, that it's deemed to be your fault. It's something's wrong with you, you know. अरे उससे तो हट जाओ, बात ही नहीं करना है. You know, this is a problem. I don't know when we are going to grow from it. I don't know, especially, you know, and like तुम्हारे में और আমার তোমার কিছু হয়ে গেলে means, you know, it'll run like a fire to
Yeah.
the next generation as if something is wrong with me or you. I don't know how we stop it. What do you think? I want to ask you as well. What do you think about it? What is your views on that?
Nandita, what I've seen in my life is I have grown to not care anymore. That you
Yeah,
got a problem with my eye, move on, don't talk to me. Doesn't
yeah,
happen for
yeah,
my life, right?
yeah,
And the
yeah.
other thing is probably not be shunned away. Like I used to kind of shy away that, oh my God, I will just kind of not go anywhere, not attend this function. But
Mm.
obviously, parents have to be super supportive, as parents, partner, whoever. Now I've started going into the limelight because this is something I was born with. The other thing is our color. We South Asians are racist, and I won't deny from saying it. We are hell bent on white skin, right? And I think much of it
I
comes from
agree.
media
Yeah,
portrayal because our media is hell bent on showcasing us a white skin, perfect figure. The
yeah,
brown skin is looked down upon like anything.
yeah, yeah. But it's growing into, like, there are a lot of narrative that being changed on that.
That's good then.
Yeah,
That's good.
it's being changed. So from, yeah, it is being changed on the skin color. If you want to talk about it, it's the conversation is growing not in depth in communities in India, in, you know, in upper middle or lower middle class
Mhm.
Indians. They're not still trying to grasp that, but there are many people who are trying to understand, whether films like Lapata Ladies, if you see Lapata Ladies and all, women can do much better, you know, they have to just understand, be ingenious or intuitive about their own um, body, about their own color, about their own intelligence. So it is starting.
Hmm.
I think the generation, maybe after 2 generations, you will see a big change
Yeah,
coming.
good
That's
for
what
you.
I feel, a big change. I think we have started as a millennials. We have started. I don't know how old you are, but we
37.
have 37. So look, my generation, long, it's gonna take a little bit while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As
So I'm
long as the
49.
wheel is turning, good.
The wheel is turning. That's what we need to
Exactly.
happen.
I'll come back to this women and single parent in a while, and I want to talk to you about your book. And I was doing some research, and I found that one of your novel, Mira Rising, is on Amazon, and that talks about. I found the premise very interesting. So you've talked about finding love inside as well as on the outside, right? When you were writing down this novel, who or what inspired you for this idea?
Nothing, because look, when I was writing this novel, it was a very difficult time of my life.
Mm.
Um, I came to terms with my disability, like I came to terms with understanding as who I am as a person and how my life has shifted and changed.
Mm.
So this was also in search of finding myself through God as well. So I was in the quest of understanding what God really is. It is within us, in us, or
Right.
it is exterior feeling that we have to, completely challenge with. Because as Bengalis, you would know that we grow up in a very religious family, though we don't intend to take up that religion, but we become very spiritual. And my
Yeah.
mom is very religious, but I have taken that spiritual journey, and I was in search of God, and I was reading about Krishna. I was trying to understand the love between a man and a woman, and how uh, a single devotion, of love can change into something that is more meaningful. So that was the whole premises of my mind, of setting the backdrop, and making that entire the goddess, the mortal, and the immortal, being together, and understanding the sacrifices of what Mira did in love.
Mm.
So that was the whole understanding. And I'm in Melbourne, so why not, shift a little bit and have that cross culture?
Mm.
Maybe that's how I can make myself understand to my nephew, my niece at that time, and we can start a conversation, and they can understand, just exactly like you have asked the question, why have you
Mm.
written? Maybe 20 years down the track, they might ask me the same
Right.
question.
Right. Yeah.
So that was the entire, it was nothing for, because as writers, we are very selfish. We don't write for anyone, we write for ourselves.
Mm.
So that was the whole point of writing, for myself to understand,
Absolutely.
um, and finding
Great.
that in the pages. Yeah.
Speaking of love, Nandita, this modern day dating is just a mess, right? I'll not go into the
Yeah.
details, but
No.
when you are differently abled, how easy or how difficult is it to seek and find true love these days?
Um, look, I did that when I didn't have the injury, right? I still fell in love and went through that whole thing. But after this, I think I've become more cautious, because yes, you will still do certain mistakes, which I've done after even the thing. Because
Right.
love is something that, you know, once you touch it, you're burned forever. And even if you don't touch it, you're still burning to get burned. That's what I mean, just in simple language.
Mm.
But I think the it's the intentions, and the the beautiful endearing thing about love is not to give up on that hope, you know. And yes, you have to be very cautious while online, like especially with so much of scams going
Right.
on.
Mm.
And if you read stories, when I launched the book and people were asking me, there was a Channel 7 reporter who asked me, why did you do this?
Mm.
But then she was saying there's a bigger story, because a 65-year-old woman also fell in love and gave everything away for that one burning question of not being living alone. That is the problem,
Yeah.
because we are such a being that we want to be with someone.
Yes.
And that's the main reason people, and it's also about
Yeah.
loneliness
Mm.
and old age, perhaps.
Mm.
So whatever you say. But I think at the moment, I wouldn't do anything as such. I'm very happy with my mother next to me, or,
Right.
and my work. But it is something that it, it just takes you to a journey, I
Mm.
suppose.
Mm.
And the next generation will also have the same question, and somewhere someone like me will also make that mistake.
Mm.
So as sophisticated as technology is becoming, it's also becoming dangerous.
Yeah. Agreed.
So I think we are doing a very we have paved the path,
Mm.
like people who have burnt, like for you know
Yes.
what do you call that term? Cat, what do you call that term? I forget. Like catfishing or something.
Mm.
But people,
Yes. Yeah.
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 So people like us have paved the path for next generation to understand. But there will be someone like us.
Mm.
Like for love, they want to do everything.
Oh,
So
yeah. Mm.
yeah. But I think I'm now more after my injury. I think I have become more uh, careful
Mm, mm.
And because I've got more help and understanding and
Right,
resourceful
right.
and what is right. Yeah. So I think I'm okay.
Good, good. I like that positivity. Coming back to that, you mentioned earlier, Nandita, that we often keep our mothers, sisters, women basically on a pedestal. You know,
Yeah.
superwoman, wo to kar legi, maa hai, that way,
Uh-huh,
right?
uh-huh.
Um, in your experience, Nandita, what do you think makes a woman extraordinary from just being ordinary?
Oh, the moment she's born, she's extraordinary. The moment she's born as a woman, she's extraordinary because she knows what she's coming to a world, especially in South Asian
Right.
family. What are the challenges,
Mm,
that she has to work 10 times more on a less wage, you know,
mm,
in comparison to a man, perhaps in a higher job, perhaps in a duty like a mother is a full-time duty, never paid. So perhaps she's more extraordinary because she binds the whole universe together, I think.
mm.
And if we were politician, I think the world would have run more smoothly than anything else. And there would be a lot of fights among women, but then we would always think about what's better.
Yeah. Mm,
What's better for the generation? What's better? Because mother extraordinary is because of that care and of the nurture
mm.
that only a woman can show, you
Exactly.
know. And when God has given you this power of giving birth,
Mm,
when you've got that womb, you know, and that speaks a lot of
mm.
holding a child inside you.
Right, right.
It's an extraordinary feeling of giving birth. So that makes her extraordinary. So if she can carry the pain for 9 months, she is that agile, that strength, that she can exemplify like tenfolds
Mm,
of love together in one universe. So I
absolutely.
think that makes her extraordinary in any case.
Mm.
No question asked.
But that added societal pressure, Nandita, that, because often we have seen, even I've seen mothers, we
Hmm.
are so ingrained to take care of people around us that we often put ourselves at the backbench, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it a little frustrating that to take care of the family, I have to be the last person to think about myself? What do we
That
do
is
with
sad.
societal pressure?
That is, and because I'll tell you, this is generational.
Mm.
This is really generational because she is doing this because it's coming down from the family hierarchy. Okay,
Right.
her mother has done it, then her mother has done it.
Mm.
So if all the mothers have done it, so it comes back to her to change the narrative.
Right.
But the problem is we can't change the narrative because we are so comfortable in that position of believing
Mm.
that because that's a duty of my mother, so my mother also expects me to do the same.
Right.
And if I change the narrative, I will be exemplified from that good girl category, right?
Mm.
And people will question me because of the condition.
Mm.
Okay. So we have to sometimes dig deep within ourselves to come out of that question
Mm.
and rise and like just race ahead, not think about, yes, there are consequences when we have to ask ourselves if it's right or if it's wrong. But within that asking of right and wrong, there's a path that will take her to her own journey.
Mm. Mm.
So somewhere we have to shift the barriers, and somewhere we have to just stir. And I know it's not possible, but if you go today to any villages in India, okay, and if you compare a village woman, okay, to a city woman, a village woman is more intelligent than a city woman.
Mm.
Village woman is more equipped with knowledge,
Yeah.
is more gratifying, and is more power to her, she's got more power. And if you go, the standard is because we are it's very confronting for us to break that,
Yeah.
because peer pressure, what will they say?
Exactly.
So, but there are some remarkable women who are
Mm.
trying to break that. So it's just that we have to find that balance.
Right.
And once we find it, we know we have done it. So
Absolutely.
that is what I think so. Yeah.
Perfect. Absolutely, Anita. Um, this is also related to women, but single mothers, right? Um, do you think that the South Asian societies that have settled overseas, right, the diaspora around us, have they evolved to a point where they welcome a single mother without any prejudice or bias?
Oh my God, I don't think so. I think women or people, not I'm not targeting anyone. I'm just saying people who have come here and left everything, they have come. I've seen women, I've seen men who has left their country like 30 years ago, but they still have that understanding of that 30 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
They haven't evolved. They have just living in that past.
Mhm.
So they're not giving themselves that moment to breathe and walk into the present,
Mhm.
you know? And I don't think so. A lot of women or a lot of men have evolved at all because I'm not saying all, some have,
Mhm.
but if you go back to India, some of the places in India, they have evolved. They're
Yes.
different, completely different. But, and they think that, and it's kind of like an identity crisis.
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of challenges also you've got to understand about a migration challenge, like the displacement challenge. You come to a new country. So a lot of people use this as a self-preservation as well.
Right,
Like,
right.
I'm going to guard myself and not go through what I have learned
Mhm.
so that I don't become disbalanced. So in my book also, if you read my Dirty Little Secrets, it's written there because I have become disbalanced. This identity crisis was huge for me.
Mhm.
So when I went back to India, I went back to India as a tourist. I was trying to see through my magnified lens
Right, right.
how I am, how to preserve myself. So these are the questions, the challenges. But if they find the right person, the right dots, I think
They can
it
be.
will become, they can, and
Mhm.
they need to change. I think people need to change. Like they
That was
can't bring their, yeah, they can't bring their, and you'll see that they'll bring their values, then they'll try to put the values on the other, and the other will become so pressured that, oh, I have to do this. So I think, and that's why people just become, where are they? They're fish out of water.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit of unlearning also needs to be done.
Yes, absolutely.
People are
Absolutely.
very reluctant to, but without unlearning, you can't settle properly.
No, no.
All right, Nandita, the author in you, right? So the next question is, what are some of your future literary projects that you're working on, you're thinking of working on?
There are a lot of things cooking at the moment in my mind. I'm more into my films, like doing working for films. But there's a story has been, and that is something that I have to put to bed in the next couple of years. I've written a couple of chapters, and I don't want to talk about it because it's very exciting,
Yeah.
and it's again about that heroine,
Mhm.
that woman, that extraordinaire, how she puts, and I think women characters are very essential because that's how she teaches everyone, even whether it's a man or a father or husband or brother.
Right.
Uh, she teaches everyone how to fall in love, and how to
Mhm.
keep it all together.
Yeah.
So I think that character is brewing in me and it'll come out very soon. Mrs. Strategy will come out very soon.
I'm into that.
Yeah.
Look forward to that, Nandita. And one last question before we wrap up is actually it's two questions clubbed into one, which is what would be your message to our listeners and where can we find you on social media?
My message to my listeners, or to your listeners rather, is to keep loving and, keep sharing
Mm.
and form an unity within our South Asian community. I think that is the most important thing as an artist and as an educator or as an entrepreneur. Just have that unity to, pick up each other when we need, and that makes the society more nuanced and unify in your values rather than what you call disintegrate in the time of crisis.
Mm.
I think the power of being one
It's great.
uh, will speak many, um, you know, many volumes.
Absolutely.
And you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on social media, and it's Nandita Chakraborty, author. And yeah, and I also go by Noni Chak as well. It was supposed to be private, now it's become public, so I don't know. Follow me everywhere you want to, or ask me a question. And yeah, I'm always there to answer anything that you have.
Thank you, Nana. This was such a heartwarming conversation, a very inspiring conversation as well.
Thank
To our listeners, so this was Nandita Chakraborty joining me from Melbourne. She's an author and she's a disability advocate, which is the need of the hour. This is something we don't talk about enough, but I really, really salute her that she has brought this up. And I think this has opened Pandora's box for many other future conversations. If you've heard me for the first time, I really hope you've liked what Nandita had to put on the table, her words of wisdom, her experience, what she's planning to write, and many other things that we've covered in the last half hour. And if you've heard me for a while, I hope you like what I put on the table as content. And if you've got any thoughts, feedback, or even criticism, I look forward to reading all of them. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Awaz-e-Haqiqat, or you can send me an email on my Gmail account, which is awaz-e-haqiqat@gmail.com. So on that note, Navida, thank you very much for joining me. Have a great evening, and I hope we can have many more of these heartwarming conversations in the future.
Thank you so much. And I wish you all the best and keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, you're making this world a little better place for everyone, you know. And the colors of life should always be there. So no matter what you want to do, but just keep doing. Just
Thank
keep
you.
rocking. That's all I'll say.
Thank you, Nandita. Thank you.
Thank